Right from the bottom of the hill on the port side. That was the main boundary. And the other way was, well, Pandora was sort of still sort of muddy and seabed came up out of the sea. You see, we rose 12 feet. And of course, and then of course it would be the breakwater the other way. And we were sort of trapped in that area, you know. We had to make our own fun, and we weren't looked on as the top class. We were the lower class, I think, because it was the industrial area. And I don't think we were looked on as very bright. I don't think we worried. We just sort of grew up with it and carried on, you know. And we just made our own fun, you know, even if it was a fight. You know, something would happen. Well, where I lived, I think it was the last street to be tar sealed, Campbell Street. And it was neglected because you had wool stores at the other end, and they were always dumping wool. All night you could hear this bump, 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 dumping wool, you know, two bales together. And of course, you could hear that all night. Went all night to get the wool ready for shipment. And but we only had a shingle. If it ever rained and got muddy, in had come a truck, and they didn't have the fine gravel that they use today. It was more bigger, you know. And of course they'd tip yards of this in the water, puddles, and try and fill them up, you know. Then the grader would come in and grade them off. And but the worst part about it was that the gravel was quite big, and it was very good for throwing. So often in Campbell Street, you had a rock fight start. The Quirks were up one end, and we were down the other, and someone would throw a rock. And that's all it had to be. And then she was on. These damn stones up and down. And the people up Quirk's end were out at the fence saying, "Get home, you Reddings." Our end would be out saying, "Get home, you Quirks, you troublemakers." Oh, God. Yeah, it was a very interesting place. You never know what you were going to run into. You could go round to the dairy to get a bottle of, oh no, it wasn't bottled milk, it was billy. But yeah, I delivered it. And you could get beaten up, you know. A couple of guys would be there and say, "Gotcha, Redding," and bang, and oh, God, you had to be a bit tough. You'd form up a gang and have a rock fight, or, you know, and where the flats lived, up on the hill, sometimes the boys would get together and say, "Let's attack flats." For no reason. You had nothing against them, but they had the hill, this big sloping hill. And of course, they used to always be quarrying around that cliff up top. And if they knew there was a gang coming, they used to set up sheets of corrugated iron and put boulders on it, all ready to tip. And I was there one day trying to invade them with a group. You were enemies one minute and you were friendly the next, you know. It was sort of happy-go-lucky setup. It was.